It's New Year's Eve, and I know a lot of people will be glad to see the back of 2020, but I haven't done a video in a while, so I thought I'd just go through a few pictures that I've taken this year. Admittedly, in January and February I hadn't taken many pictures, but what I was doing is researching what's now known as an alternative process, but it's actually one of the original photographic processes called the wet plate collodion process, which was a process of photography which was invented by Frederick Scott Archer in the 1850s. And this type of photography replaced the two original photographic processes, the daguerreotype and the calotype. And what it really did is it combined the sharpness that you got from a daguerreotype and combined that with the fact with the calotype you could reproduce it, so you could have a negative and produce several positives from that. So by the 1860s it had totally replaced those two photographic processes, and I just wanted to give it a go. So with a lot of trial and error, I did do quite a lot of attempts that didn't really pan out very well at all. Either I didn't get a picture at all, or when I did get a picture it only showed on half the plate, or after I took the picture I managed to develop a picture but it didn't last. So yeah, here's a few pictures I took. So this one is my great auntie Edna, bless her, she's been seen in several pictures before. But when I just about mastered it, I say mastered it, I didn't get especially good at it, but I managed to get pictures that I was at least happy with and looked like what they were supposed to look like. Just about when I'd mastered that, that's when the first lockdown happened. So unfortunately I was running out of supplies and didn't really get into the swing of it. But I took this one just about when all the toilet roll shortages were happening. And I just thought it was a funny little picture to take. You know, it really symbolises wealth in 2020, doesn't it? I took this one as well. Unfortunately I must have taken this same picture about 10 times, and it's of my toy Woody from Toy Story in a little bird cage, and on the table it says isolation, because that's just about when the lockdown happened. And sometimes the picture was drastically underexposed, sometimes overexposed, sometimes you couldn't see the writing, or if I got the picture right, yeah, unfortunately it didn't stick and it ended up peeling off before I got a chance to varnish it. So after I run out of wet plate supplies, I turned to normal photography, digital photography. This is a picture I took of my brother in April, and I wanted this picture to look a bit rugged, a bit, you know, I titled it Outlaw, so I didn't want him to look clean and fresh and everything like that. So the hat he's wearing, I actually bended it and shook it up a bit and made it look a bit rugged. I entered that into a photography competition, and the judge said that the hat looked like the hat had a bit of dust on it and he didn't like it for that reason. But oh well. Roughly about the same time I also did this. This is a composite shot. It was taken, the background was taken in the Lake District a couple of years ago, but what I did is I built a little campfire out of bricks on my patio, set a fire, and I got my brother to look like he was sharpening a stick into like some form of knife or tool or something, and I stitched it all together, which I thought looked pretty good. This next picture was taken in May, and this is just about when the lockdown restrictions started to be lifted and you could meet other people in a park. Now, at the beginning of lockdown, I started messaging friends a bit more. I'm not one for text messaging. I hate having conversations by text. I'd much rather pick up the phone and have a conversation. But me and a friend of mine got talking during lockdown, and we when the restrictions were lifted, we started coming to here to People's Park. We'd often be talking all night, and sometimes until sunrise. And I took this picture, and it's not the best star trail picture ever, but it means a lot to me, because when we were talking all that time, night after night, we realised we had quite a deep connection, and we are now a couple. So I know 2020 has been a bit of a shit year, and I know many people have been ill, many people have lost loved ones. I myself lost my granddad in November due to COVID. But I'll definitely look back on some parts of 2020 with a large degree of happiness. But yeah, this is a star trail picture I took. There's one that goes on later this. I took this on my phone. I've got another one that's a bit later than this, but it was ruined by a helicopter. Now, there's a couple of methods of taking star trail pictures. What you can do is take several pictures of, say, 30-second long exposures, just continuously shooting and stitch them together. That method's a little bit better than the kind of method of having just one long exposure for 3 hours, because when a helicopter gets into your shot when you're doing a 3-hour long exposure, there's not a lot you can do about it, whereas if you've taken loads of individual frames, it's a bit easier to take helicopters out. Still a fair bit of work, don't get me wrong, but yeah, that one was taken just on my phone on a very long exposure shot. So with not much else to photograph, I decided to buy myself a macro lens, the Lauer 100mm 2.8 2:1 magnification, and I started just doing what a lot of other photography enthusiasts have been doing this summer, and just started photographing bugs. So I did a fair bit of macro photography, and I tell you what, it was a lot harder than I expected. I was taking probably about 1,000 pictures a day, and getting one or two that I was happy with. And it was a steep learning curve, because I found that I was getting hardly any pictures that I liked. As I practiced more, though, the more you practice, the better you get. So I was able to, get some decent shots in the end. And this little picture here, this is a caterpillar I found in my greenhouse called Jeff, and I think it's amazing. Like, a couple of weeks later, we say he turns into a moth. I know that's not news to anybody, that's what a caterpillar does, but I think it's amazing how this little creature, you can it's green and wriggling around one day, and a couple of weeks later it cocoons itself in a leaf in my greenhouse, and it ends up as a moth. So I've also got several pictures of butterflies. Again, I was able to kind of photograph the full life cycle of a butterfly. So yeah, this photograph is of a friend of mine, Jonathan Hilton, a very talented singer and someone I've worked with doing photography jobs before. But yeah, he wanted some pictures to promote his singing, because he does a lot of events and weddings and things like that, and he does an interesting mix of kind of rock music done in a slightly jazzy way. So you can see on his hat there, he's got a skull on his hat, which you might not think suits the rest of his attire, but if you understand the kind of music he does a lot of rock covers, but in his own way, and it really suits his music, I think. So that's pretty much, other than the one with my brother, the only studio shot that I got all year, the only studio shoot I did all year. So yeah, that's one of my favourites from this year. And then in October, I did something that I've not done before. I actually hired a lens. I hired the Sony 200 to 600mm super telephoto zoom lens, and it was an absolutely brilliant lens. I'm glad I hired it. I'm not sure I could justify paying the £1,500 or whatever it is to buy, but to hire for a few days was definitely worth it. but on day one of having the lens, it absolutely pissed it down. So I wasn't able to go out and take the nature shots that I wanted to take. But I did go to Yorkshire Wildlife Park, so I thought, well, if I'm going to spend this money hiring a lens, I may as well go somewhere to take pictures with it. So I went to Yorkshire Wildlife Park and got some pictures. I like this one of the lemur. And then the following week I went to see my uncle in North Yorkshire, and on the way I stopped off at Fountains Abbey, and they have all these deer roaming about. You've got red deer, spotted deer, and I got a few shots there which I was quite happy with. But this picture I've got here is actually a composite of two pictures. I know a lot of nature photographers won't like that, but it's what I saw, so I'm quite happy with it. I had the lens extended at 600mm, and I took this nice picture of a deer looking right at me, but I wanted to get the full body of the deer, and I wanted to get some of the background in as well, but by the time I zoomed out, the deer was looking the other way. So I stitched the two photos together and got this, which I'm quite happy with. And I got a few more pictures of the deer that day, and it was really it was a really good day out, and just nice to have fun doing a bit of photography, going out on a day specifically to do photography, which isn't something that any of us have had a great deal of opportunity to do this year. So in many ways I was quite lucky. But then of course at the beginning of November the second lockdown happened, and we were confined to our homes again, but this time it was later in the year, so not as many bugs about to take pictures of. So unfortunately I didn't get out again taking any more pictures. But next year I'd really like to continue with doing the wet plate collodion photography, and just do more photography, because this year, like I say, we haven't done a great deal. But if I was to take a positive from this year, I've tried a lot of new things. I've done macro photography, which I've never done before. Like I say, I've done wet plate photography, which I really want to continue doing. And like I say, in October it was fun to get out with the 600mm lens and give that a go. And I might do a video about my experience of hiring a lens and go through in more detail the pictures that I took over those 2 days. And so here is a selection of some of my favourite pictures that I've taken this year. And I wish you a very happy new year, and I shall see you all in 2021.